What is going on, guys? It is Daniel Wright, and you are here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. Guys, happy Wednesday to you, or whatever day it is that you're listening to this right now. I am looking forward to today's podcast. I just coming off of a TCS winter retreat down in Florida. That was fantastic. Got to see some of my best friends from all across the country for a couple of days. Got to have a fantastic speaker in Mr. Dr. Jordan Peterson. Was able to do gave a great speech for us, did some Q&A. So that was a pretty neat experience as well. And just back in the swing of things. We got back recently and jumped right into hitting the ground running. I think I was at home for maybe about 20 minutes unloading the luggage, and then was up by the office the other evening. So back into it full swing. The momentum and the excitement of 2025 is in full force. And guys, I want to talk a little bit today about being misunderstood. And it's actually a great topic to jump into, coming off of a retreat where Jordan Peterson was the guest speaker, because I believe that by most of society's standards, he's a pretty misunderstood guy himself. So that's what we're going to chat about today. It's going to be a little bit of heat. So if you are not feeling like having that tossed at you right now, then you might want to come back at another time to listen to this one. All that being said, let's get started. All right, guys, as I was saying, it's okay to be misunderstood. There's a lot of people out there, probably some of the favorite people that you look up to, that you aspire to be like, that are your role models and things like that, have all been or are currently misunderstood by a lot of people. And oftentimes the people that they're most misunderstood by are the ones that are doing less than they are in their life. Either less than they are in their life, doing different things than they are in their life, or just have a completely different outlook on life. And being misunderstood by different groups of people comes from just different experiences that you're going to have in your life. So leaders are sometimes misunderstood by their followers, or parents are sometimes misunderstood by their children, or someone like a Dr. Jordan B. Peterson is sometimes misunderstood by society. And it leads me into talking a little bit about one of the things that Dr. Peterson talked a little bit about. Actually, I talked a lot about, and that's that you have to know and understand what your aim is, right? It sounds like a very simple topic, a very simple thought process, but nonetheless, you have to make sure that your aim is dialed in and clear, because if not, then you're going to start noticing a lot of things that you shouldn't be noticing. And by that, it's talking about that, if your aim is out of focus, and you're not aligned, and you're not dialed into exactly what it is you're trying to do, where you're trying to go, why you're trying to do it, how you're trying to do it, then a lot of the other crap of life just gets in the way. And so relating this to business, right? I want to kind of tie it into that, business, leadership, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to relate it to business. As a business owner, my aim of what we're trying to do here as a company has to be extremely clear, right? That doesn't mean that every step along the path has to be exactly planned out and dialed in, but I have to know exactly where we're going and why. And if that aim is not clear, if that guidance, if that direction, if that goal that we're aiming towards is not clear to myself, then it will never be clear to anyone else that I'm expected to lead. The other side of that, though, is if it is clear and I have not expressed where we're going, why we're going there, how we're going to go there to the team that I'm leading, then there's going to be a disconnect. That oftentimes happens because, from what I've understood and what I've learned, is that there's a lack of clarity somewhere. And because of the lack of clarity, there's a lack of communication. Now, the communication can sometimes be internal communication, right? We do have conversations with ourselves, at least I do. Maybe I'm the only crazy one here. But we do have conversations internally that we have to make sure that we're clear on. And we also have conversations externally with the teams that we are leading. And when we are not clearly communicating that aim and that goal of where we're trying to get to as a company to the team that we're leading, there becomes a lot of misunderstandings. For me, where we're trying to go and what we're trying to achieve is going to be a task that's going to be very, very difficult. However, it doesn't have to be very difficult as long as we have the right people in the right places, right? We've all heard the saying in some form or another, it's the who, not the how. It's putting the right people in the right seats in your organization, on the right, on the bus, find the right seat on the bus. And as we're kind of moving around, as our company is growing and developing and entering into the next stage, the next level of business, because we're not definitely trying to stay where we're at. We're trying to grow. We're trying to progress. We're trying to expand and grow our reach and our impact on people in and around the pavement maintenance industry. As we're doing that, the communication about the aim that we have as a company has to be very clear. I personally try to do that, one, through these podcasts, right? I don't know if our team listens to these. If you are, great. Thanks for tuning in. If you're not, well, I guess you're not hearing this right now. I try to do it through the podcasts. I do it through our monthly company meetings. I do it at our outings when we do, our company outings. I always take a few minutes to just kind of address the group. I do it at our weekly leadership meetings. So I'm constantly trying to put out where my brain and where my vision is for this company, what we're aiming towards. And then it's from there that the people who I'm expressing that to has to either, one, understand what I'm talking about and being on board with it, or two, they need to ask the questions and get clarification. Because if there is no clarity between the person who's responsible for projecting the aim of the organization and the people who are needed to help execute getting it done so that way it can be accomplished, then, like I said, that's where the misunderstandings come into place. And so it's something that I'm having to learn as a leader, because let's face it, nobody likes being misunderstood. Nobody likes people assuming things about them. Nobody likes people, confusing what it is that they're saying with what they think they said or whatever the issue may be. Nobody likes any of that. And so sometimes it's just easier to just be quiet, right? Just let people assume assume that the other people know what you're talking about or know what you're thinking or understood what you said. And so one of the things that I'm working on really hard going into this year is being more and more and more clear. But like I said before, that clarity has to start with me. I have to be clear in my own brain, in my own heart, in my own eyes on where we're going and why. The how we get there is always being molded. It's always being shaped and put into the right, mixture, the right concoction for what we need right now. And as we're doing that, and as we're shaping and molding things, sometimes people get uncomfortable. Sometimes I get uncomfortable. Sometimes our leadership gets uncomfortable. Sometimes our frontline crew gets uncomfortable because it's not the same as what we've been doing. And so if you don't get that clarity put into place, you're guaranteed to be misunderstood. But if you do, they're still going to misunderstand you because it's your vision, it's your goal, it's your trajectory that you're trying to go on, and only you are inside of your brain. So there's always going to be that level of misunderstanding, and that's okay, but you want to try and minimize it. And you can minimize it through communicating clearly. But the whole point that it comes back to is you have to know your aim. And that's something, like I said, that Dr. Peterson talked a lot about, is if you're not focused on it, if you're not relentlessly chasing what it is you're aiming after, well, then your aim is not well enough developed. And when your aim is not well enough developed, that's where it causes the confusion and the misunderstandings and the lack of communication. It all just is a mess. So you have to just get that aim dialed in. You have to drill down on what it is you're trying to achieve, why you're trying to achieve it, how you want to achieve it, and who you need to achieve it. And then from there, you have to make sure that that communication is clearly explained. It's clearly communicated to all the people involved. But it starts with you. Iron out that plan. Draw out that diagram. Create the org chart. Create the ultimate version of what you're trying to achieve and how that looks. Reverse engineer it from where you're at now to where you're trying to get. So that way that clarity is achieved. And then when you communicate it, you have to act on it and reinforce it. There has to be accountability on the actions that are supposed to be taken. One of the big things that we're implementing right now as we're going into this year that I'm leading the way with is Setting deadlines for things, right? Nobody likes the word deadline because it's constricting or it doesn't feel good or whatever the excuse may be. But ultimately, it goes back to the old saying is if you give your kid 3 hours to clean the room, it'll take them 3 hours. If you give your kid 30 minutes to clean their room, it'll take 30 minutes. So, can we not make more progress at a quicker rate of speed if we give stricter deadlines and actually have accountability to hold ourselves to those? Yes, we can make more progress faster by doing that. So, why has it taken me over 8 years to figure this out? That's a fantastic question. But we have. So, we're starting to use deadlines. We're starting to use the calendars. We're starting to use accountability more frequently. And fortunately, I'm surrounded by a group of individuals that take that stuff seriously, that they actually take pride in their work. They take pride in their performance. They take pride in themselves as individuals. And so we don't have to go down that whole route that some people do of like, oh, well, you missed your deadline here, so we're going to have a documented counseling here. That's garbage, right? We have a standard in our organization, as you guys heard about last week, that we're no longer tolerating mediocrity. It's not acceptable. And so the people that we have who are accountable for achieving their deadlines so that we can get these things done and go towards the aim that we have as a company, those individuals are not mediocre. And so we have the accountability conversations. We set the deadlines out in public. We review them if we met them or did not meet them in public. And then we figure out what we need to do to move forward and go on to the next phase of it. And so just using those deadlines and having that accountability on the actions that you have to take once you've achieved the clarity that you've communicated to yourself and your team, because you have the aim dialed in on where you're trying to get, it all works. It all starts to make progress. Things start to happen. We start to move up in our abilities to serve our clients better. We start to open up opportunities for employees to grow within the organization. We start to just see ourselves in a light that we're not playing in the minor leagues anymore. We're playing in the big leagues. So there's so many tangible and non-tangible effects of being able to get the aim dialed in, being able to clearly communicate it to who all is involved in it, and be able to take action and have accountability for making sure all of everything that needs to get done is getting done, right? But I'm telling you right now, as leaders, guys, you will be misunderstood. People will think you're being ridiculous. People will think you're crazy. People will think that you have this insane dream or unreasonable expectations or too high of standards or whatever it might be. And I'm here to tell you that that's good. That's good that people think that. Because if you as the leader don't have those types of expectations, don't have those types of standards, then you're probably leading a team of less than mediocre individuals. And I can promise you, no one ever knows who the mediocre individuals were in history. So as a leader of an organization, as a leader of a team, as a leader of anything that anyone else is following you, that you're trying to do something for, you owe it to them to be okay with being misunderstood. Because the people who sign up for these types of positions cannot be the people pleasers. They cannot be the ones who just want everybody to love them and everyone to like them, right? I heard something one time that said, as a leader, you will be misunderstood and it's okay. They may not like you all the time, but they will respect why you do what you do. And I think that all goes back to what I said earlier. You got to have a clear aim. You got to clearly communicate what you're trying to do, how you need to do it. And you have to take the actions and have reinforcement and accountability on those actions. Because that right there is what's going to earn the respect of your team. We've all heard it. Respect is earned, not given. So you as the leader, if you're not doing those things, if you're not having a clear aim, if you're not clearly communicating it to your team, and if you're not taking action and having accountability with yourself first and your team second, then you'll never have the respect earned of your team. And I can tell you as somebody right now who has had my times where I take the easy way out and I do a lot of lip service and I preach a lot of great ideas, but I fall short with the actions and accountability. It's an uphill battle to earn that respect to the team. But I've also learned from it. I'm also making progress. I'm also trying to improve myself as an individual, as a leader, as somebody who wants to genuinely make a difference in the lives of the people we get to impact by taking the action, by having the accountability, by talking to people openly and saying, yes, I met this goal, or no, I did not meet this goal. right? Because also sometimes as a leader, we get caught up thinking that we don't have to answer to anyone. Well, we do. Joke's on you. You have to answer to your entire team. You have to answer to all your clients. You have to answer to all your vendors. You have to answer to your peers, your competition, everybody else who's out there. You have to answer to more people than anybody in your organization. So, all that to be said, what's your aim? Are you clear on your aim? Do you know where you're going and why you're trying to get there? Have you clearly communicated that within yourself? Have you had those conversations and break it all down to where it's very clear and you understand it inside and out? And have you taken the actions that you need to take to do it? Because if you haven't, you can't expect your team to do it. And if you have, and you're getting those things in place, then you need to hold the line. You need to hold the standards and hold the expectations. You're going to be misunderstood. And for what it's worth, like I said, it's okay. Because our job is to not be understood all the time. Our job is not to be the most liked person in the room. Our job is not to be, the best friend all the time. When we have taken on this role, this responsibility to lead an organization to new heights with new standards and new levels of excellence, it's going to be challenging. But I think you, just like me, are up for the challenge. And I think that as long as we surround ourselves with great people, as long as we keep pushing ourselves to grow and expand our vision and our goals and to keep looking for that next opportunity to grow and develop, I think that we can make it happen. I think that we can make a difference. I think that we can create better lives for people than they ever imagined for themselves. And I think that we can then in turn be fulfilled. So that's my message for you today, guys. It's okay to be misunderstood. There's a lot of things you're going to do in life if you're trying to live a great one that people aren't going to understand. And that's all right. You can do your best to explain it to them, to be clear with them, to take action, to hold accountability, and to lead by example. And that's all you can do. But there's still always going to be that slight little difference of a misunderstanding. And you just have to be okay with it. So that's my message for you today. Like I said, guys, the Top Contractor School retreat, man, it was a fantastic time to get together with some friends. Took in a lot of learning. My wife, the total boss, got to have 2 different speaking sessions, one on a panel and one where she was a spotlight for the TCS women's group. That was absolutely fantastic. Super proud husband moment right there. And it was really good. It was a nice weekend. So, guys, I hope this was of some sort of benefit to you today. If not, well, at least you had a couple minutes of listening to Daniel rant and rave, and you can tell me about how interesting it was. If it was, share it with somebody. Comment on it. Whatever you want to do with it, it would all be appreciated. So, guys, thank you for tuning in today. I look forward to seeing you guys